guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl right here. If you didn't know, now you know, and that's legit on periods. As you guys know, that we be doing some movie reviews and stuff on here, and I decided to switch things up a bit. So let me know in the comments if you like this version better, or do you like the way I did it previously. So today we will be talking about the 2018 horror film called, oh, I got a little hole right here. Oh shoot. Oh well, who cares? Ignore it. We will be talking about the 2018 horror film called Follow, written by Todd Click and directed by Anton Lee. The overall concept of the film came from real life traumatic events that took place in the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Some of these tragic events include the mysterious death of Elisa Lam and the murders committed by Jake Unterweger and Richard Ramirez. So the movie opens up with the main character drop the mic in the bathroom, looking in the mirror. He's filming himself, and there's like an audio playing of a conversation between him and his fiance Jess, and Jess is telling him to come home because she has a bad feeling that something bad is going to happen to him. But Mike is like, negative, we need this money, I'm going to finish out my mission, I'll see you when I can. And at this point he runs out. So then there's like a message that comes across the screen, and it says something along the lines of, I actually took a picture of it. It says, on November 5th 2016, an anonymous user uploaded the following screen recording to social media websites. The video was removed by authorities within minutes. For years, it could only be watched on the dark web. So we're watching this guy do an internet search on Drop the Mic Hotel Linux. And a series of articles come up surrounding mysterious incidents that took place at the Hotel Linux. And those include Megan Kim and the mysterious video that took place in the elevator. Those are her final moments before she went missing. And then it goes on and it talks about Drop the Mic and his mysterious disappearance. From there, we are drawn to Drop the Mic's channel, and we're watching a series of vlogs. Now his vlogs are supposed to give you the idea of a Logan Paul, Jake Paul type feel.
What's up, minions? Drop the Mic here at the Pasadena Suicide Bridge. How awesome is this? In 1913, the bridge was built, and since then, 100 people have leapt to their deaths.
So, but don't ask me because I've never watched a Logan Paul video in my life. Sorry, not sorry. So one of the videos that we watch is like a big announcement type video where Mike is just so excited to share with you guys that he has the opportunity to have a sponsorship with Hot Gothic, and all he has to do is get 50,000 brand new subscribers by the end of Halloween weekend, and he will get 250 grand. So he's excited. He's excited. He's telling all his supporters, and he is telling them to let him know where he should go to spend Halloween weekend. And apparently everybody wants him to go to Hotel Linux, where these traumatic events took place. So after picking like their location of where they're going to go, Chris, who is Mike's best friend, and Mike, they go and they have a conversation with the famous author. His name is Wallace Fletcher, who tells them that 123 people either killed themselves or was murdered in this hotel, and that the most famous serial killer named David Omis had stayed in one of the rooms there, and he killed a total of 14 people. And how he did this was by luring prostitutes into his room, torturing them, killing them, and having sex with their dead body. I mean, I guess you got to do what you got to do to, you know, get some, I guess. Teach his own, right? So after talking to Wallace, Chris is not on board. He does not want to go to Hotel Lennox. He's like, you heard what took place there. No. No.
Are you seriously gonna ditch the vlog over one hotel?
Why would you want to do this? And Mike is like, come on now. Like, nothing is gonna happen. None of that stuff is real. And Chris is like, yes, it is real. I've seen spirits before. And so he shares the story that he experienced when he was a kid, and Mike is just laughing at him and making fun of him. And Chris is like, why is it the two people that I tell this story to, they don't believe me, which is his mom and Mike. Mike is determined to do whatever he can to make sure that Chris comes along to this adventure, I guess you want to call it, this Halloween fest, whatever. So what he does is he goes to Danny, who is Chris's crush, and convinces her to come along with them. And they discuss money. She says she's on board, and now we're finally at Hotel Lennox. So when they arrive at Hotel Lennox, the rules for them is they cannot be vlogging anything because it's already that popular video of Meg and Kim all over the internet, and this hotel does not want no more attention towards them. So do you think that Mike is going to follow along with this? No. Like, he needs to get his bang. He needs to snatch that bag real quickly. So he dismissed whatever they said, and he's vlogging. So they're at the hotel. It is Mike, Chris, Danny, and Mike's editor, Nick. So since Nick is the editor, she gets her own room. She has to spend all her time editing these footages so they can get this up quickly as possible so they can hurry up and get that 50K. Because they only have like 3 days to do this, right? Chris, Mike, and Danny sharing room 1428. And get this. This is the room where David Omis killed those 14 people. So after settling in a little bit, this is when they all decide to go outside. And they go to the back alley, and Mike is showing everyone this dumpster. And he's like, this is where David Omis dumped the dead bodies. At this moment, this is when Danny kind of scooped the camera over, and we see a drug deal taking place. And the drug dealer sees them, and he starts coming towards them, and they start running, and they make it into the building, and he doesn't get in. Period. Just remember the story, okay? Remember this because this is going to be brought up again later on. So, the first night, their actual night there, right? They are having fun. They're just chilling. They're talking. They're vlogging everything, too, because they're vlogging 24/7. So, they're just chatting it up, and then finally, they decide to go to sleep. Just as they're falling asleep, Fred the Head falls off this, like, I don't know what you want to call it. It's like a shelf that be on the hotels where you could like put hangers and all that crap on. It falls down, and they're like, what? Like, how the heck did this fall? Like, what? It makes no sense. And then they just fall off to sleep. So during the first night there, the door is opening and closing by itself, and the bathroom light continues to cut on. It's just on throughout the night, and then it cuts off. And we see this mysterious guy again, and he's uploading day 2. They all decide to go downstairs to the basement to go to the broiler where Meg and Kim's body was found. So when they get down, they see like this sign that says no trespassing, and Mike is like, whoa, deja vu moment. Remember this, okay? Remember this, because this is a key factor in this whole film, right? They go into the basement. They are going towards the door where the broiler is, and they find that it is locked. But they have their drone, and their drone can squeeze through and go inside, so that way they can have an idea of what it looks like inside that room. So they're watching the footage of what it looks like in the broiler room, and as it gets to like a section where the stairs is, that's when it's like the drone is like hit and it falls. And at that moment, the security guard, Tony, comes out of nowhere and says, "What are you guys doing?" And the next thing you know, we learn that Tony is a fan of theirs, and that he's like, "Look, I can't let you guys into the broiler because you need a key, and also it's dangerous in there, and you know, I'm not about to lose my job over it." So Mike basically says, "Look, how would you like it if one day you could do security at like the set of movie productions and stuff?" And Tony is like, "Wow, like I would love that. Like that would be great, you know?" And so he's like, "You know what? Tomorrow my boss is out. I could get you the key then." And then Mike is like, "Bet, you know, bet, like that is cool." And then he asks him like, "What other stuff can you tell us about the hotel?" So Tony's like, "So you know the elevator ritual, right?" And they're like, "No." And he was like, "Well, go online, look up the elevator ritual, watch the video. After watching the video, then re-watch Megan Kim's video, and that tells you everything you need to know." They get back to the room. They're so excited to like investigate this. So they look up the game, and pretty much they have to have 10 floors in that hotel in order for them to play this game. Then they have to follow a specific order of which floors to go to. By the time they get to the 5th floor, a woman should appear asking, "Where are you going?" And you are not supposed to respond to this woman or look at her, right? So only one person could do this, and that leaves, you know, oh boy Mike. He's the one that is going to go and do this elevator ritual. He does it. There's like the lights flickering and things like that as he's playing this game. He's like, you know, there's some electrical issues going on in here. But you know, so after getting to the 5th floor, he's like, "This game is a hex. It's not legit. You heard it here first, guys. It's not real." So the elevator like closes, and then it gets kind of dark, and then it's light again, and then guess who appears behind him? A woman. And she's like, "Where are you going?" And then it just like goes dark again. And you know, at this point he's in the elevator. Finally it gets to the 14th floor, and he just like runs out, and he goes and tells his friends that they rewatched the footage of what happened, and they're like, "That's Megan Kim, that's Megan Kim." They're like, no, it doesn't look like Megan Kim. It's not Megan Kim." And then Daniel's like, "Did you hire someone to dress up?" And he was like, no, you guys set this up, didn't you? Did you set this up? And they're like, "No, we didn't set it." He's like, "Come on guys, if you tell me that you set this up, I will worship you forever. Like I would worship you." They're like, "No, like we didn't do this, not at all." So they're kind of like confused at how this like happened. There's a knock on the door, and they go over to the door, and nobody's there. So Mike closes the door, and then there's a knock again, and he opens it again, and nobody's there. And he's like, "Yo, like what is going on?" And this happens a few times because it's a knock, and he opens it, and then nobody's there. And Mike is thinking like, it's a fan. It is one of my fans. He's convinced that one of his fans dressed up to try to scare him in the elevator, and he is convinced they're knocking on the door as well to scare him. So I'm looking like, Mike, are you stupid? Like, do you really think somebody is going to do all that work to come and scare you? come on now. And how would they know which room you're staying at? And not only that, every time you opened the door, nobody was there, and you're standing right there by the door. They wouldn't have had no time to run to the end of the hallway, nor would they have time if they were staying in the room right next to you. Hurry up and get inside the room, because then they got to put their key in unless they had the door open the whole time. But even still, they won't have that time because you would have had the door open by now, and you would have saw their door closing. Didn't make any sense to me, but okay. They're just sitting down, right? And Mike gets a phone call, a Skype call from his fiance, and she tells them that she's pregnant. He's so excited. They're kind of celebrating and stuff. After a moment of celebrating, they start hearing like weird noises. and they're confused on like what it is. So they're like, it sounds like it's coming from Nick's room. So Chris goes over to check on Nick. He goes inside the room. You can hear her crying. You can tell that she's stressed out. She's editing these videos. And he's like, Nick, are you good? Are you okay? And she just like turns around and she's fussing at him. Like she's yelling at him. And you can see blood coming down her nose. Her nose is literally bleeding. He hands her a tissue. And he's trying to see if she's good. And she's just like yelling at him like, get the hell out. And so he leaves out, right? As he leaves out the room and he's getting ready to go back into his room, the hallway goes like a black reddish color, right? And then there's someone at the end of the hall and he's like, yo, you good down there? Yo, you good? The person's not responding. All of a sudden you see the head go back. And he's like, oh shoot. And so he kind of started fussing. And then this one, Mike and Danny opens the door and they come out and he's like, there's a man that's at the end of the hallway. And then nobody is there. So they go down to that area and they're looking and they're like, nobody's here, but there is a fire escape right here. And so they go out that window and they're literally on the ceiling and they're walking around and they're like investigating or whatever. And then they happen to see the satanic symbol on the ground and they're like, oh shoot, this is where David Omis did his satanic rituals. So apparently this symbol is literally above their room. And then they find a plate there. A plate filled with tongues and maggots. And they're like, oh my gosh, like what the heck? How did this get here? And then Mike is convinced this is the fan. This is the fan that is doing this to scare them. So now it's the second night there. Danny and Mike, they can't sleep. So they're talking a little bit. He hands her a happy pill. She said, hey, why not? Everybody else is doing it. I might as well do it myself. And she does. And then they end up falling asleep, right? So after a moment, there is a dark shadow that appears. And it hovers over Chris as he sleeps. It is just standing there for a long ass time, just hovering, just watching him as he sleeps. Eventually, it just like goes to the camera like that. So we're back to our old friend, Jenna, who is uploading videos. So now he's uploading day 3 video. So at this point, Mike, Danny, and Chris decides to chill in the hallways because they're determined to catch this fan in act, right? And so they're sitting there, they're chilling, they're talking. Eventually, Mike has to go poop. So he gets up, goes into the room, go poop or whatever. And this leaves Danny and Chris in there, well, in the hallway, and they're talking. And she's like, so why haven't you been calling me? And he's like, what you mean? And she's like, you haven't been calling me at all. It hurt my feelings to not hear from you. And then he's like, well, you know, I was in love with you. In the midst of us watching this video clip, it's a Skype call that comes in. And it's of some black guy. And he's like, Mike, is that you? It's dark. I can't see you, bruh. Mike, you good? Mike, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear what happened to you. I hope you're okay. Look, have you heard from Danny and Chris? And then at that point, that's when the person hang up and we're back to watching the video, right? So Chris tells Danny that he was in love with her, but he knew that Danny didn't feel the same way about him. So that's pretty much why he hasn't been calling her. And she's like, are you serious? Like, I looked at you like a little brother, you know? And it really hurts my feelings to know that you didn't call me. You didn't reach out to me. You didn't even try. Woo, woo, woo. And at this point, that's when Mike comes back out. He's like, what are you guys talking about? And he's like getting ready to sit down or whatever. And then there's like this ball or something that is like thrown towards them. And there's a little kid at the end of the hallway. So Mike looks up and sees this kid. And he also picks up the ball. And he goes, hey, I think I know this kid. And they're like, what? You know this kid? He's like, yeah. So Mike starts chasing after the kid, right? And then Chris runs to the hallway, like following behind. And they turn, like, I think they like turn left or something. And when they turn, it's like a dead end. but Mike and the child is not there. It's like they're gone. Chris like, they're not here, they disappeared, right? So Mike is still chasing after this kid, and in the midst of this, you know, the hallway light where Chris and Danny is, it goes black, and they're kind of freaking out. So like they run back towards like the room or whatever. At this point, like she's like, cut your light on, and he cuts the light on, and then there's like this weird creature, like, well, not creature, ghost spirit thingy, you know, right there. And they're like, oh my gosh, and finally Danny gets the door open, they get inside, they close the door, and you're like, what the hell was that? Then they start hearing knocking on their door. It's just continuous knocking. In the midst of this, right, Mike still chasing this kid, running downstairs, you know, going all around the mulberry bush, and then finally he sees this kid goes into this one room. He goes to the room, which is room 440, and Mike is standing there, and he knocks on the door, and he's knocking. At this point, Chris opens the door, and guess who is there? Mike. Mike is like, what the hell? Danny is like, yo, did you just see the man out there? Did you see that man? Mike is like, what the heck? Why are you guys opening the door? Like, what? And they're like confused, because Mike is just thrown off because he was literally knocking at room 440's door. So how the hell was he knocking on that door, but Chris and Danny was opening, and it's their hotel room 1428. So this leads to them getting into an argument because Danny is still on, like, did you see the man in the hallway? He's like, Mike is like, dude, who cares about the man in the hallway? Did you not hear me? I was knocking on room 440 and you guys answered the door. And then Danny looks at his hand and is like, Mike, what is that in your hand? And so he looks, and he's like kind of opening it up, and he's going to the bathroom, and there's a freaking eyeball that comes out of it, and they're like, oh my gosh. So this leads Mike to calling Tony, the security guard, right? And so they call him, they go down to room 440, and two old ladies answer the door. So they're like, hey, is there a little boy who's staying here? They said no. So Mike was like, have you guys been witnessing any weird activities taking place? They're like, no. One of the old ladies is just fussing and wants them to close, well, the other lady to close the door. And so this leaves them on out the way. Mike is telling Tony, like, I am serious, yo. Like, I'm not making this up. He led me to room 440. So Mike decides to call Wallace and ask him, like, hey, did anything bad ever happen in room 440? And Wallace is like, yeah, you don't know this story? It's very popular. Everybody knows this story. And he's like, no. So apparently a detective was investigating a case because they're at the Lennox Hotel, well, Hotel Lennox. In room 440, there was a murder that took place of a French couple there. They were butchered to death. And so this detective decides that he wants to stay in that room, hoping to lure the killer back to the room. But after 3 weeks and nothing happened, he returned home. He stabbed his wife 3 times in the heart as she was sleeping, and then he got his 2 boys, drove them to Hotel Lennox, went into room 440, and he stabbed his 7-year-old son in the heart and gouged his eyes out, or his eyeball out. And then the other son was able to get away. He ran into the basement, into the broiler, and that's when, like, the maintenance people was there because the maintenance guy was doing work. And that is when the detective was actually killed. He had his head bashed in, and this leaving the little boy to survive. What happened to this little boy, we have no idea. Mike just feels like he needs a moment alone. He's like, man, no kid should ever have to go through that. He wants to sit and he needs to chill and he needs to regroup and think, you know. And at this point, there is screaming coming from their room because they're in a hallway. Danny and Mike, they're in a hallway. There's screaming coming from their room, and it is Chris, and he's screaming. And then when they get there, they like, you look, what's going on, what happened to your face? And he's like, this cat did it, the cat did it. And they're like, a cat? Like, no. And they're like, maybe you did it to yourself, nobody's there, there's no cat, what are you talking about? He's like, come on now, I'm serious, I'm telling you the truth, I need to get out of here, I'm getting out of here. And he starts like going downstairs to the lobby, leaving out. And Danny is like, no, don't go. We just have one more night here. Just stay. Let's stick it out and we're good. And Mike is like, look, I'll give you more money. And then Chris is like, I don't care about the money. Like, this place is haunted. It's crazy. We need to get out of here. And Mike's not having it. Danny's not having it. She's trying to convince him to stay. He's like, look, something dragged me into the bathroom. I am leaving in 1 minute. Are you coming? And she didn't even answer, and so he just goes out, right? So she goes back upstairs with Mike, and she's like, we gotta go find Chris. And she starts packing things up. Mike is like, no, we can't go, we need to stay and finish this mission, we're almost done, this is the final night. And she's like, we need to find Chris. Something is happening here. This leads to him like, look, I can't go. I'm sorry. She's like, why can't we leave? Why do we have to stay? So he goes on and he says he needs this $250K. Because if he don't get this $250K, he knows that Jess is going to leave him. Because she is the money maker of the house. She's bringing in all the income, and she eventually is going to realize, like, you don't provide for this family at all. And he's like, and plus now we're having a baby. And he's like, look, I'm not like other people. You know how people find certain things disgusting and twisted and stuff? I don't. I love this stuff. It amuses me. And he's like, and you know, when I was adopted, my adoptive family, and she was like, wait, you were adopted? He's like, yeah. And she was like, oh my gosh, I never knew you were adopted. He was like, yeah. And he was like, so I don't know, like my adoptive family, they don't know why I am the way that I am and why I find this stuff amusing. But apparently when I was younger, I witnessed something so bad, something so traumatic, and I've been different ever since. And this happened when I lived with my mother, my birth mother. So this pretty much convinces Danny to stay, and they're going to finish this mission. But they decide, hey, let's go find Chris. So they end up going to a local restaurant, and they're just talking when out of the blue, some weirdo in a red mask comes stare at them from the window. They're like by the window just staring at Danny, and they're like, go away, you weirdo, bye, F you, like putting up the finger and all this stuff. And this dude is just still standing there. And then eventually he like goes off, right? Sorry about that, my camera died. So as they were going back to the hotel, they see the lady from room 440. One of the old ladies was laying on the ground dead. And they're like, oh my gosh, this can't be happening. This is weird. Like, I've never seen no mess like this before. Woo, woo, woo. And then all of a sudden, Danny looks up and she sees the guy in the red mask. And they take off and they start running, and he starts chasing after them. They go inside the hotel. They're running, trying to get to their room. And they click on the elevator, they get on the elevator, and they plan on like hitting different type of buttons just to throw this dude off, right? So finally they get off on one of the floors. They continue to go up the stairs and running to their floor. In the midst of them running, like there's weird shit, like I don't know, like a door will open and then it'd be like a monster or something there. And then there's like random people with masks and stuff on, and it's like, what the heck is going on? Like, I don't know, I was kind of like, wait, what? Like, I don't know what the heck was happening. So they're running, right? And then when they finally made it to their floor, Mike drops the key to the hotel room there. And so this leads to him having to run back down the hall to go get it. And then that's when the maid with the mask on, with a weird mask on actually, and she hands him the key. And then he starts running back, and then he sees the dude with the red mask coming up the stairs. And so he runs and he hurries up so he can give the key to Danny. And at this moment, the guy is already like at the top of the stairs. And then Chris comes and he goes like push the guy in the mask down, knocking him over, and the mask falls off. And guess who it is? It is the drug dealer from earlier in the movie. By this time, this is when Tony is coming down the hall, and he sort of sees everything, and he starts chasing after the drug dealer. But then comes back and was like, oh, he got away. He went through the fire escape. And I'm looking like, see, this is why all these murders happen there, because security here is terrible. How do you think you're going to be security at a movie set production when you can't even handle a hotel? Okay? You couldn't even handle a hotel. You couldn't even properly do your job to keep these people safe, yo. Like, really? I don't know. I have my questions about Tony. Like, actually, when we first started to see him, I started to question him. Like, I'm like, something is kind of off with this dude, because he always comes in the nick of time. You know what I'm saying? Danny is on board with Chris. We need to get the hell out of here. We're not staying. We gotta go. And Mike is like, no, it's just one more night. Like, I just need to go to the basement, and we're done. We're good to go. And he's like, they're like, no, we're leaving. And the security guard, Tony, he walks them out of the hotel, and they're gone. The last time we see Chris and Danny. So Mike goes and he checks on Nick, right? As he opens the door, he sees Nick getting ready to jump out the window. He stops her, and then he calls her parents, and the parents come and pick her up and take her home. The last time we see Nick, on November 1st at 2:11 a.m., Jess calls Mike and tells him that she just had a bad dream, and she is terrified, and she wants him to come home now. And Mike is like, no, I'm not coming home. She is pushing him coming home for the well-being of himself and the family. And he's like, look, we need the money, okay? We need the money. I'm almost done. She's like, we don't need the money. I will do overtime if I have to. He's like, no, Jess, you shouldn't have to do overtime. I want to do this. So I'm going to finish this mission. And they're like going back and forth for a bit, and then he hangs up on her. And at this point, it's a knock on the door. He goes to the door, and it's an envelope, and it has the key to the broiler. This leads us to the very beginning of the movie, where we see Mike in the bathroom with his camera recording, and he's looking at himself, and then he started heading out. So now he goes live, and he's like live streaming this whole thing. He's like, okay guys, like, we did it. I'm on my way to the basement in the broiler. We just need 330 more subscribers, and we're good, and we're done with this. So at this time, he gets a phone call. He answered the phone. It is Wallace. Wallace is calling him like, yo, where are you? Where are you going? What are you doing? Mike is like, I'm on my way to the basement in the broiler where Megan Kim's body was found. And Wallace is like, no, don't do that. Are you crazy? It's not safe. It's dangerous. Look, I found out who the kid was who belonged to that detective. I found out who he is. And in the midst of it, it started like the connection is starting to kind of mess up. And then he tells him, like, what we got from it before the connection officially goes out is the boy is you. And I don't think that Mike processed it. I don't think he heard it clearly because the connection was going off. And like Wallace said it again, the boy is you, the boy is you. And then the connection just dropped. And Mike continued on to this broiler. He unlocks it. He goes in. He sees the mannequins like they seen when they were looking through the drone. And then, you know, he's looking around and you kind of hear like these cat noises, like type stuff or whatever. And then he sees the stairs that we saw with the drone when the drone was actually slapped away, right? He sees that. Then he goes and walks around some more and he sees like the area where Megan Kim's body was found, and right in that same spot is where the drone was. So he goes over there, and then you start hearing the cat noises again, and then, you know, he's hearing like a child laughter, and he turns around like, who's there? And then the chair is moving by itself, and then he goes and walks around to go try to investigate, and all he's hearing is this weird noises. So at this point, the light comes on by itself. One of the lights come on. He's like, who cut the light on? Who cut this light on? And nobody's responding to him. He finds a stick. He goes towards the stairs, and he throws the stick down the stairs. And nothing happened. So he starts walking down the stairs, and that's when a hand comes out, grabs the stick, and just dips, and he's freaking out. He's downstairs, stuff is starting to be thrown, he's seeing weird stuff, and he like is like lured into this little corner, like on the floor, just all scared. Like you could tell that he is terrified, right?
So I actually forgot to mention this portion though. So Mike had went upstairs to an area and he happened to find a laptop. And there's an echo coming from upstairs as well. And it's his voice. So he actually finds the laptop that is actually recording his live stream. And next to it is a notebook that belonged to Tony. So now Tony looks really, really, really sus.
And he like dropped the camera too in the midst of all this. So the camera is getting everything. So he's freaking out. You're seeing stuff thrown at him or whatever. And then finally, like, he gets up, he gets the camera, and he's getting the hell out of there, okay? So he's running back, like, up the stairs. And as he's going up the stairs, he's seeing, like, the mannequins, like, head and arms and stuff, like, falling off and crap. He makes it out of the hotel. And it is broad daylight at this point. Like, it is, like, daylight. I'm like, oh, really? Like, what happened? So he made it out of the hotel, and at this point, we get to see another video that was called, like, Thank You and Goodbye. And this was a live stream recording of Mike, and this is, like, his final video. So in this video, he ends up showing his arm, which we see has a cast on, and it's broken, obviously. And he says that he spent hours at the police station being questioned. He finally says he hit the 50K subscribers. He thanks his subscribers for their support and everything. He has not talked to Chris, Nick, or Danny at all since any of this happened, and he hopes that they're okay. And he is like, you know, I decided to upload this video, like a documentary of the homelessness in downtown Los Angeles, you know, to bring some type of awareness, to bring some positivity up. I'm deciding to take a break from my channel, from vlogging, you know, so I could get back into this mindset and come to terms with who my father is, right? And at this point, the lights go out. He hasn't even talk to Jess either, BTW. Child, when I tell you, when the lights went out, he was freaking out. And then you see like two people and they're coming towards him. Mind you, everything is still being recorded, right? So he's lured into a corner again. He's freaking out. And then you see one of the people, they are coming to the camera. You see their face and nice and clearly. And then it's like that person backs away and then a head is thrown at Mike, and guess who it is? It is Jess. It is her head. This brings us to the guy, the mysterious guy, clicking out of that video and heading over to another vlogger's channel called Terrible Tyler. And Terrible Tyler is talking about, guys, I am in front of no other than Drop the Mike's house, where his wife Jess was decapitated. And stay tuned for the next vlog where we can investigate the death and the mysterious disappearance of Drop the Mike. Nobody has seen him. Nobody can find him. The cops don't even know where he's at. And also, I got a special souvenir. And he said he has the artifact, and it is Fred the Head. You know Fred the Head, that belongs to the crew. At this point, this is when the boy starts like running away and everything, and a comment is left by our mysterious guy. And this comment says, "Can't wait to meet you, Tyler." And within seconds of posting that, a whole bunch of comments came in, and they're like, "Oh, did you change your name? Did you stop vlogging? What's going on? Blah, 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 blah." And then he's exiting out of everything, and then it's like a black screen, and then it goes like this, and you can see the face, and it is clearly Mike. And that's the end of the movie. That is the end of the movie, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this and you found this entertaining and you stayed the whole way through. If you did and you haven't already, please hit that thumbs up button. Let me know in the comments what other movies I should do. Let me know if you like this style or do you want me to go back to the old ways. But until next time, guys, I love you. See ya.